ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.
Hi, my name's Mandeep and this is Santosh, Narinder and Sadesh, and today we're talking about the female's role in a modern family. So Benji.
Okay, I'll start off. That the role of a female has changed. As I said before, I'm a lot older than you guys, and the changes that I've seen in sort of my years and my experience is my personal. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. When I got married, the role was I'm to stay at home, to have babies, look after my father and mother-in-law, and all the extended family, Nanandi or whatever, and be there 24/7 to do everything, to be a cook, a cleaner, a housemaid, everything. But then as years went on, that role has changed. We went into business, I became a businesswoman, and that in itself has brought issues. So although in the modern day, the wife is running a business or going out to work, but we still have to make the roti at home, we still have to cook and clean, we still have to go to the parties, we still have to come home and do the jobs that maybe our husbands won't do. So it's compromising and I don't know, dividing up the roles and jobs.
I think when I got married, I was already working. So from day one, I had a job. I was bringing in an equal income to my husband, and but I was still expected to do the housework. So we still had that role, and I feel though in today's society there are families whereby it is acknowledged that the women are bringing in an equal income. And then the men will help and take an active role in the house in terms of looking after the children, doing the cooking, doing the cleaning. Because I do know friends whose husbands will be active in the house. Mine isn't, unfortunately. But you know, in our house, I do a lot of the cooking. Or my children are now getting older, so they're quite self-sufficient. But I brought my children up. Because I've got 3 daughters and I've got 1 son, and I brought my children up to make sure that my son can cook as well as my daughters. And actually my son is a brilliant cook. He's actually probably a better cook than my daughters. They probably don't want to hear me saying that, but he's actually a brilliant cook. And I brought him up to make sure that, you know, he doesn't sort of like treat, you know, his wife when he gets married as a lesser person, and they're on an equal par. And you know, if out of choice his wife wanted to cook or he wanted to cook, that he was quite capable of doing that. It wasn't a case of, you know, because he's a male that he will not cook or he will not clean. He's capable of doing everything, and I think that that's the way it should be, because society nowadays is changing. Back in the day when I was younger, my dad went out to work. My mum used to work at home as well, so she used to sew, but she was expected to do all the cooking and cleaning. But I think society is changing, but I think there are still a lot of families whereby the women, even though they're bringing an equal income in, they are still expected to do all the housework and everything, all the cooking, cleaning, everything themselves.
Yeah, well, is this because the male child has been brought up with the expectation, because mummy's pampered him and cooked his roti and ironed his kapre and put the wash on, cleaned his room, so he's been brought up that way, expecting that when his wife comes, she's got to pick his clothes up from the floor, wash them, iron them, have his roti on the table when he gets home. And then I've even seen people have their walk to the sink, wash their hands, but left the tray there.
Yeah.
So, you know, the wife will pick up the tray, or mummy used to pick it up. Yeah. So the wife will pick it up. So somebody put a question to me recently, and he said, when I get married, I'm no good at cooking at all, but I'm good at DIY, I'm good at vacuuming. So does that make me sexist? You know, expecting my wife to cook?
Yeah, no, I don't think that makes that person sexy, does it? Because they're not saying that they're not going to do that. they're saying that that's not my strength, this is my strength, so I will still have an equal part in the house. But I think it's when you're expecting the other person to do it just because of the fact that you're male, in my view anyway.
It's that compromise you have, isn't it? Like, I could turn around and say, sorry, but I don't know how to put a cupboard together or fix a table or
but you're
change
in
the light bulb.
You're in business,
You know.
and when you're in business, you're working really 16 hours a day. So, you know, personally, are you expected to go home and then make the roti?
I'm quite fortunate in that case where if I'm at home and I'm with the kids, I'll cook. But if I'm not and my husband's at home, he'll get stuff ready, you know, he'll make food, he'll cook, you know, and we live with mum, so, you know, she takes an active role. She understands that we both go out, we both work, we've got 4 children, and if she's at home, she'll get stuff ready, you know, at least if it's not for us, because she knows we'll get ourselves sorted, she'll at least have something ready for the kids. So in that case, I'm quite fortunate. But like I said, with me and my husband, I have said to him, you know, I do know how to change a light bulb, but any other electrical problems, like, you know, changing a fuse or
Yeah,
you know, I can't do that. So, you know, we have our little roles, but it's that compromise and that talking.
It comes together, doesn't it? It's like the jigsaw puzzle.
We've got that respect for each other, that we both go out to work. We both, you know, are at that same level, and we both then come home together, or you know, and whoever's at home will then
do what needs to be done. See, I really clever like that, because what I did was I actually did a recipe book, and it's got everybody's favourite, my family's favourite foods in there, quick and easy to make, and it's typed and it sits in the cupboard, so there's no excuse in my household. So if I'm running late, then, you know, the recipe book comes out and everything's there, like, you know, one ingredient after the other, and the method and everything else, so they know that how to make the curries, how to do, you know, pies or whatever it is. Yes.
I was going to say, I hope your husband's done a little handbook for you how to change the tyre. Otherwise, then you're sexist.
It's about supporting each other. I mean, that's not to say that I won't come home and cook, because I do. Like Narinder, my son's an excellent cook. Because, I mean, he loves cooking, he really enjoys it. We debate in the kitchen about what herbs need to go into something, and we get into a lot of arguments over it. And, you know, we might not, you know, speak for a few minutes afterwards because he's chucked something in that I don't like. But that's a good thing, because he's very, very independent. Whereas my younger son, he hates cooking. He's 18 now, but he's just started to sort of experiment with food. But then he's very good. He knows how to use a dishwasher. He knows how to use a washing machine. So all of those sorts of things. And I use a clever thing called a phone. So there's a WhatsApp group for the family. So if they're at home, the message goes out, can you please do this? If I put the washing in the washing machine, can you please put the clothes out, etc.
The way we're bringing our children up. Like, I've got 1 son and 3 girls, same as Narinder, and I will get my son cleaning and doing things, picking up the dishes, laying the table, just as I get the girls, and everyone is equal. Whereas, like, say, the older generation, Benji, sorry.
Yes.
But, it was, you know, the mother did everything for the son and the dad, and that's how then he was brought up. Like, you know, you're saying your husband.
I think though, when I was younger, my dad loved cooking, right? And my brothers loved cooking, both of them. They like to experiment and sort of like put their own little twist on things. So they don't follow recipes, they'll just do what they feel like. And so I was kind of brought up in that generation where my dad never washed up. I'm not going to pretend he didn't wash up. He never washed up, but he loved cooking. And he used to take great pride.
That still happens.
Yeah.
Men like cooking but don't like the washing.
Yeah. And they have double the amount of washing up as well for you afterwards. But my dad used to take great pride in the dishes that he made. And even after I got married, I remember my dad used to make, like, if he made something, he'd make like a whole batch of it. So he just distributed it to all the houses. So to my house, to my brother's house, and my other brother's house. So, you know, so he used to love cooking. And I think that's partly why I personally don't see a problem in terms of, you know, the guys cooking. So I brought my son up to say, you need to cook, but I'm lucky in that my son likes to experiment as well, and he likes trying, and it's turned out that, you know, he had a few flops a few times, but he's a really, really good cook now.
You know, like in this day and age, do you think like the media has an influence? Like if you look at some of the chefs, they're mainly all men.
Yeah.
You know, except from the Nigella Lawson and, you know, and the others. But there are a lot of male chefs out there that cook really nice looking
I
food.
think the mindset of women has changed because my brothers would never have wheeled a pushchair. And neither my husband, and yet my son, he's happy to do it, and I encouraged him to do it. And cooking, yes, my son's a good cook. On Saturday, he loves making the food for the children, his wife, you know, as a family. And I think that mindset is changing.
And they didn't want to push the pushchair because they thought it was a woman's role, or
that's right. Yeah,
It's less manly, I suppose.
Yeah.
If you're pushing a pushchair.
Well, it's everything. Equality, isn't it? When you see in the media men cooking. Before, I don't know, I'm a lot older than you lot, I keep saying this. But on television, it used to be women. You know, Fanny Craddock, I don't know if you lot are old enough to remember her.
Delia.
There's
Delia Smith, yes.
Yeah. But there weren't no men. And now men have come into the roles of cooking. And it's all of a sudden it's become okay.
But that's partly because it's fashionable as well, though, isn't it? So cooking is one thing then. But what about everything else then?
But like
cleaning,
women are taking
hoovering.
like more manly roles in society as well, like, you know, politics, and women are getting into jobs that men
Are they
normally
manly
do.
roles, or they like people's roles,
so
which have
people's roles
historically
that men,
historically been done
have
by
had,
men?
but then
Yes.
now women are doing them. You know, you get your engineers and, you know, so but.
Builders.
Yeah, exactly.
As SWAN, I mean, we're all professional women. We all, I mean, Narinda, she's deputy leader. Now for...
Assistant leader.
Assistant, well, मेरी assistant leader भी बन जाएगी. But in the past, 20 years ago, I don't think it was heard of for a woman, per se a woman, and an Asian woman at that, to have that role. It's a very prestigious role, and obviously the average person in the street couldn't do that role. So now, and you know, you're saying you've been in domestic violence in your role as a senior manager. Mandeep's been in business for many years. I myself have been in business, and you know, we're all part of the professional society where women, say 20, 30 years ago, was unheard of. Our own communities would have shunned us.
I think it's sort of like it's a generational change, because like you say, in the past it was unheard of women having careers.
Yes.
So now women have got careers. Now the next question is, okay, well, we've got careers equal to yours. So should you then share the workload in terms of running the household? And the answer is yes.
Absolutely.
But I think there's still that barrier where a lot of people still think, okay, well, you might have a job, but you know what, doing the housework and everything is your job as well, because I'm not going to do that. So we do still have a lot of that. I think there are very few families whereby the husband will share the role, especially in our community. I think in British society, the English community, should I say, not British society, but it's sort of like, it's more of an equal footing in terms of the role that's played in the house between the man and the woman. It's not seen as though, you know, you're sort of like lowering yourself if you're doing the hoover, or you're doing the cleaning, or you're doing stuff with the kids. Whereas I think in our culture, there is still that kind of stigma a little bit, that people feel association.
I tend to disagree, though. I think it's the same in a lot of communities, because I think that's to do with sort of, if you think about, you know, the Equalities Act, you know, about discrimination between men and women, it hasn't been around that long, probably 30, 40 years, even in the Western world when they've introduced it.
I mean, they're still not getting paid the same wages as a man.
So there is an inequality, and yes, you're right, you know, women still don't earn the same salary for doing the same job in this country and around the world. So I think there are issues there. I think sometimes when you come from our community, that's what we see, and the situation might be you might see more of it in our communities, but I think it's the same in lots of communities, which can lead to lots of really difficult situations for families.
I think though there are other communities whereby they're even further back than we are, aren't they?
That's very true.
Because there are still some communities whereby women are not given the opportunity to go and have further education.
Yes.
They're expected after a certain age. They need to get married and have children, and they still have all of that. So we're lucky in some ways that it's quite accepting that a woman has a career. Nowadays, I think, especially in the Sikh community, you hear very, very few families where the woman is a housewife.
You see, talking about equality, Guru Nanak Dev Ji was the founder of equality between men and women. And to look where we started to where we are now, there has been a big shift. So it's taken many years, but we're not there yet.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but at least we're on, I don't know,
The right path.
Yeah, the second step, where our forefather, our fathers that came over here and brought tradition with them. We seem to be stuck in a time warp. And as we've mentioned in previous programs, that when you go back to India, they almost, the traditions that we carry on in weddings. Yeah. I mean, they laugh at us. Ma Nanan came from India, and she said, what are you doing? This was on a wedding. And I said, oh, they're doing this. And she says, do you still do that? She was absolutely shocked that we're still doing it. Yeah. And my children will ask me, why did they do this? I said, I don't know, because Mum used to do it.
Yeah. But I remember I saw a programme not so long ago on television about a chef who's won a show and now she's got her own show. And they showed her in her own family home. And they had all the sisters, her and the sisters, in the kitchen cooking the curries and things, while the husbands were sitting in the lounge on their phones and with the children messing around. And she talked about how proud she was and how proud her dad was, because she said that her dad always said to her and her sisters that he wants to make sure that the daughters know how to cook, because they want to show the husbands, their future son-in-laws, that actually they've taught them correctly. And actually, in the 21st century, where we're promoting women equality, I found that quite odd to watch on television. They showed, and she was from a South Asian community, that actually that's what they were showing, that the sisters all in the kitchen cooking while the husbands were sitting in the lounge.
Because that's the role.
Yes.
Of the woman.
I remember when I was younger, like my mum used to be really proud of the fact that I knew how to make saag and put the ullan in the saag. She used to say that I can say that my daughter knows how to do the ullan in the saag, and obviously thinking about it, to do, but thinking about it now, you think,
Saag is one of the most difficult things to make, isn't
Really?
it?
I just said it was the easiest thing to do.
No, you get
very,
lumps
very
in it.
difficult.
Yeah.
That's what the Madani is there for.
Yeah, no, but if you don't do it fast enough, you get the
The
lumps.
electric one.
And that's all you want.
No, but it's really weird.
Well, in them days, it was like you're 10 years old and you were making roti, and that was really a sense of pride for parents to say, my
and even
daughter
now,
knows.
you sometimes see little children who sometimes will stand on a stool to make roti, and like the parents are like, look, my daughter can make roti this sort of way.
Well, when I was at the Gurdwara, and like you said, when we were 10 or 12, we could make rotiya. And this young lady, and I would say she's in her 20s, she churned the roti and put it on the tawa and came running to her mum and said, I put roti on the tawa. And to me, I know we're living in inequality, but making your basic roti should be, everybody should know how to do it, whether you're a boy or a girl. To make your basic roti, you should be able to do that. But it was unheard of when I was growing up at 25, not be able to make a roti. It was unheard of.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to admit, I
And
think
round ones.
Yeah.
And round ones.
They have to be perfect. You know, I have to admit, I am the only one that makes roti in my house. They can make a curry, and then it's, you know, down to the shops to pick up some naan to go with it, or the ready-made rice packs, even if, you know, that works as well. But I think things are changing.
Things are changing.
You know, and I think women have got to, we've got to take the reins, and we've got to teach our sons as well, and our daughters, everything. And as long as, I think it's fair, you know, to say that if you're the one, as a female, are the cook in the home, as long as your husband or your partner, you know, are doing an equal share of the housework, is absolutely fine. You know, there's nothing sexist about that.
Yeah,
or-
we're on the right path. There still needs to be a bit of work, but I think it's also a really important life skill, isn't it? Ensuring that, you know, if you've got a job, then your husband or, you know, your partner can cook and do the day-to-day stuff around the house as well.
When you
because
go to
you're
university, you still have to, you know, your mum and dad aren't there to cook for you, so you have to do it. So it is a life skill that you need to learn to survive.
Yeah, it is a changing society, but we're getting there.
In my lifetime, I've seen the big changes that have gone on from, you know, when I got married to now, my granddaughter, the way we are looking for potential partners for her. It's a big shift.
Are you making sure he can cook as well then?
Definitely, that's one
Is
of the
that on the
questions I will be
checklist?
I will be asking. And also, I need to teach my daughter how to make the saag, because if that's a question that comes up.
I think we need to taste Narinda's saag.
We'll be going down after the show, I think.
Being in my current role, I haven't got time to make saag, so I'm afraid it's like going down to the local shop. Shop and mum is usually very good. Mum always makes my saag for me.
And the takeaway of mum's very good.
That's it. And then it goes in the freezer as well, so you can have it next time round as well. Brilliant.
But when I got married, there weren't no freezers. I'm showing my age now. Everything was cooked fresh, and it was eaten fresh, and then there was, if there's anything left, right, we would put it in a cold place and then use it first thing in the morning. And I think that's where our culture of Bronte comes from, because everything that was left overnight, because my mother-in-law's from obviously from India, and she used to say that everything that was left, because in India there were no fridges or freezers, and in the morning it all went into the paronta, and that was your breakfast.
Yeah, my mother-in-law says things like that. Like when she came here, they didn't have no gas cookers like we've got them. You know, they've got no washing machines, so she used to have to wash, you know, all the kapre for the kids, make sure the roti was done, make sure things were done on time, and then stand in the shop and work with my father-in-law, you know. So in a sense, we are a lot luckier than that generation.
We've got a lot of modern appliances
like the electrical Madani to make the saag.
Yes, don't need the wooden one anymore.
No, but then we've created jobs for ourselves, although like our mums, I mean, I didn't have a washing machine up to about 20 years ago. You know, I washed everything by hand, and no, about 25 years ago. So although now I've got a washing machine, but then I've got other things that I've created for myself to do. So it's no, there's no like one way of doing things. We always like moving on, but then created more jobs for ourselves.
But the thing is, I mean, there's a shift. For example, nowadays you don't quite a lot of families don't even wash the pande. They stick it in the dishwasher. Stick those in the dishwasher, clothes in the washing machine. You got your dryer, so you don't have to put the clothes out to dry.
But you still have to unload the dishwasher.
Well,
that's what my kids are handy for.
That's it. It's an
robots
easy
one
task.
day, maybe one day we'll have a robot that will do all of that for us.
But I think what's happened is that women have become more aspirational, and yes, they have got other things that they need to do. Things like what we're doing, we've set up our women's organisation, and therefore that now takes up a lot of our, what would have been our free time. But actually that's important for us, that we want to contribute, we want to do something.
Empower women.
Exactly.
And I suppose we've got to be thankful, because we can only do that with the support of our partners. So we've got to be thankful that they are understanding.
And the
that
local
we can.
takeaway shop. I need to. Because without him, our role would be very difficult.
Well, that was very light-hearted today, ladies. Thank you very much. Vaheguru Ji Ka
Vaheguru Ji Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.